So Star Wars is a pretty big deal. Movies, video games, books, comic books and TV shows all give glimpses into a lore-rich galaxy long ago and far, far away. Of course, with great power comes great mediocrity. And a lot of the spin-off titles bearing the by now very well-known brand can be less than entertaining and phoned in on the whole Star Wars shtick. Many of the video games were reskins and clones, but just around the turn of the century the game suddenly started improving and in a big way. And while you had the linear exploits of Kotor focusing mostly on events after Return of the Jedi, now thrown in the bin along with most of the extended universe as non-canon, you also had an older tale, set thousands of years before a boy who hated sand was found by a prophecy-obsessed Qui-Gon Jinn. This is of course Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic. This game may be an unfortunate situation when the lore isn't automatically overwritten by the new Disney-fied franchise attempt. I think the thousands of years before being anything related to the main movie canon and the fact that EA is still getting that juicy sub-money from its spiritual MMO successor, The Old Republic, gives it some hope. But who knows when it comes to that mousy boy with dinner plate ears, cheeky little bugger. The other big plus being that this is yet another Star Wars video game that doesn't actually suck. Well, mostly. You see, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, or KOTOR as I refer to it from here, is in some ways a 3D spiritual successor to Baldur's Gate, an amazing CRPG developed by the same company BioWare, who will go on to further improve on the 3D foundations laid in this game in the mostly excellent Mass Effect science fiction games and their fantasy counterpart, the Dragon Age franchise. This, like them, is a semi-tactical RPG and basically the precursor to all the more modern BioWare games. Not that one. The party size has been cut down, probably to accommodate the technology, and maybe to deal with the tedium that would be controlling 6 party members in a 3D environment, where when not under direct control, your party members act on their own while trying to follow the leader. I'm grateful for this revamp, of course, as the pathing issues from just having 2 companions auto-battling their way through the corridor of the game's various worlds and dungeons is enough hassle on its own. But it is a very similar system. All the same, pausing combat, selecting targets with your abilities, able to stack a few commands on one party member, switch to the next, do the same, then unpause the combat to release your attacks. You have a set of attributes for each character that you can gradually increase to improve your roles in combat, and you put points into skills to level your ability to interact in the world. For example, computers, persuasion, repair, these give you more options to deal with encounters. You also gain feats that can increase your stats, improving your combat dice rolls, or give you abilities to use during combat like 2 attacks in quick succession, or a higher critical hit chance. The actual effects of your commands are determined with the good old D&D dice rolls, and thank God you don't have to do the math yourself. The game suffers from the same things I assume most D&D campaigns suffer from. The lucky few unseen dice rolls by an enemy can destroy you in the early to mid game, whereas by the end, with the amount of modifiers you strap to your character like your mum did for your dad that time, you basically roll through waves of enemies, cheesing the mechanics if the odds ever do fall against you. I literally fought some of the hardest battles by running away with one party member when it was obvious we were all going to die, and slowly making my way back, picking through the remnants of the enemies left. But the cheesing of AI from 2003 aside, the mechanics are workable, and when things go as planned, you do feel a sense of accomplishment. Of course, really when it comes to a game like this, mechanics aren't the emphasis, they are simply there to support the story being told, give you a challenge along the way to your next bit of story. And if you're into Star Wars lore, then this was a pretty big deal, being the first time you get to create a character that is all your own and enter into a Star Wars universe story, come what may. Of course, the character options are a bit limited, but you're basically playing Dungeons & Dragons anyway, so your imagination will have to suffice. Your character, male or female, is either a soldier or a scout or a scoundrel, depending on how you want to roll it. And they wake up from a nap aboard the Endar Spire, Republic spaceship, and the Sith are attacking. There's explosions and confusion abroad as you make your way off the ship, learning that a Sith Lord named Darth Malak, who recently betrayed his former master Darth Revan, is after a Jedi named Bastila, who has the Force given an ability of battle meditation, a way to influence allies to work together as one cohesive unit and simultaneously demoralize your enemies. Very shortly after you meet your first party member, Cartho Nassi, and crash land an escape pod on the nearby planet of Taris. Carth sounds an awful lot like Caden Alenko from Mass Effect. Carth pulls you out of the wreckage and explains that you have to find Bastila for the sake of the Republic, and Taris is now occupied by Malak's Sith army. The quest gets deeper from here. Taris is a well fleshed out planet with a lot going on, but a horrible in-game layout and long pathways, and the game never stops handing out these linear pathways, but I feel they could have condensed the walking somewhat. Mass Effect is very similar in this regard. Linear paths is where you can interact, but they have beautiful backdrops beyond them, It's a very BioWare feature. I really like Taris as a planet. There's a lot of diversions you can find here to occupy your time, and as well fleshed out area to do a lot of side quests. You can learn to play Pazik, a gambling card game and a bit of a take on blackjack. You can take on some bounties, you can fight in arena battles. There's plenty of side quests in addition to the main quest, and they help you to solidify the lore. It is a really good place to learn the game, reminiscent of the Citadel introduction in Mass Effect. I do refer to Mass Effect a lot because a lot of the motifs established here appear in that later title. However, instead of Paragon points, here you get light side and dark side points depending on your actions, and the decisions you make in dialogue options with your respective deeds pushing you either more towards the light or the dark. It has a pretty big impact on the ending, but you can make it through with a mix of both. Unfortunately, there's not much subtlety in options. All the bad guy options come off as grandiose cartoon villainy, and all the light side choices are sort of ignorantly good options where regardless of the outcome, you're going to go do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. But this is Star Wars, so you knew what you were getting into. Now, a personal conundrum. I want to show you the story, but if you want to avoid spoilers beyond the setting outlined previously, pause the video and go here. Are you gone? You see, Bastella's escape pod from the Endar Spire is found by a local swoop gang called the Black Bulkers, led by Brejik, and is being held hostage and made the prize in an annual swoop bike race season opening. Rival gang to Hidden Beck's leader, Gadden Thek, talks you into finding a new prototype accelerator so you can win the race and secure Bastella's freedom. The gang leader points you to Mission Vow, a jailbait Twi'lek who promises to help you enter the Black Bulkar's lair if you can secure her freedom for her Wookiee friend Zelbar from some Gamoran slavers. Now with Wookiee and Twi'lek in tow, you see all those enigmatic roars that Chewbacca gave Han in the movies were actually heavy dialogue hidden behind primitive Wookiee dialect. I mean, listen to my boy Zelbar. Magnificent language. Anyway, you get into Hidden Beck space, you get that swoop bike accelerator and you return it. You win the race, and the Black Vulkar's leader Brejik, who you think would fear me a little more after I literally decimated the man at his base, now refuses to hand Bastila over. But she frees herself from the mind restraints they've put on her using the Force, because she's a Jedi and they do things like that. You both fight and kill Brejik, and with him out of the way, you now get to find out how pompous sounding this Bastila lady is.
Wait, I don't believe this. You're one of the soldiers with the Republic fleet, aren't you?
Wonderful. Definitely will get around to romancing that out of her, but anyhow. Now, with Bastila found, the only issue is to get past the Sith blockade, which can only be done with the necessary codes and a ship. But fortunately, Candaris Odo, a mercenary you meet a few times along your way to get Swoop Accelerator, has a proposition. Betray Davik Kang, his employer, and steal the ship, the Ebon Hawk. You manage to get the codes from a Sith military base. Candaris takes you to Davik Kang's estate under the guise of being a new recruit. You are held at the estate while Davik runs background checks. You secretly make your way to the ship's hangar, but Malik, out of desperation of not finding Bastila, decides to blow Taris out of the sky. Sky? Space. Out of the space. And you meet Davik and the bounty hunter Kalo Nord, both fleeing to board the Ebon Hawk. After a brief battle, like seriously I steamrolled that one, Kalo pulls out a thermal detonator, but the ship bombardment brings the building down, kills Davik and seemingly Kalo. Your party board the ship and retrieve the rest of the crew, and Taris has gone the way of Alderaan. Well, not yet because this is a prequel, but you get the idea. Now, Bastila takes you to the planet Dantooine to see the Jedi Council. There's a strange moment where they say the Council is actually on Coruscant, but for some poorly developed reason, this is sort of a subsidiary council that runs a Jedi Academy here on Dantooine. And if that's not weird enough, what's up with the planet named Dantooine? Couldn't they think of something a little more original? But I digress. Anyway, you get some good exposition here. Bastila tells you are strong in the Force, and that the way events unfolded so conveniently for you on Taris proves this. You both have a shared vision of Revan and Malik accessing a star map in a nearby ancient temple here on Dantooine, and she takes you to see the Council, who debate training you. Being you're older than your average trainee, after some unseen discussion, they agree to train you, and you get a montage where you learn the ways of the Jedi and master the Force, which is pretty sweet. As part of your training, you're sent to an ancient grove that is now corrupted, where you find a dark Jedi named Juhani, who freezes your companions and fights you. You have the option of getting dark side points and killing her, or being a good boy and saving her from the dark side, convincing her to return to the academy. Either way, you graduate to Padawan. But now, a history lesson. You ask the historian about Jedi history. You see Malik and his former Master Revan were both very good boy Jedis who the Council deemed shouldn't go fight Mandalorian wars. So the Jedi had just fought a war against a dark Jedi named Exar Kun, and they decided to sit this one out. Revan and Malik disobeyed, rallied the other Jedi to the cause, and led Republic fleet to victory over the Mandalorians, who surrendered 4 years before this game starts. Revan and Malik became heroes, but instead of returning after the war, they took a third of the Republic fleet that was under their command into unexplored space. They returned a year later with a massive invasion fleet, larger than the Republic fleet they left with, and Revan assuming the title of Sith Lord. No longer good boys, Revan and Malik had to sleep outside. Now that you've proven yourself through your training, the Jedi Council send you to seek out what you saw in your visions of Revan inside the ancient temple there on Tatooine. You get there, pass some tests, and get access to the first many star maps, parts of a map that will lead you to the ominous Star Forge that Revan and Malik visited previously. It also gives you the likely locations of the other maps, Kashyyyk, Manaan, Tatooine, and Korriban. So, in no particular order, you go to Kashyyyk. You find out the Zerka Corporation is enslaving Wookiees from a certain tribe led by none other than Zolbar's brother, Chundar. See, Zolbar is what Wookiees call a mad claw, having attacked his brother, Chundar, with his claws drawn years ago when he found out he was working with the slavers. So, he got kicked out of the tribe, but Chundar, through using his treachery, usurped the tribe from his father, the clan's leader. He holds Zolbar captive and tells you to kill an insane Wookiee who has been killing the Zerka Corporation people on the planet's surface before he will let him go. You meet a grey Jedi named Jolee who sounds an awful lot like Savarok from Baldur's Gate, and he joins the party out of an interest in seeing what fate the Force has laid out for you. You find out the insane Wookiee's none other than Zolbar's father, who left the tribe when he realised Zolbar was actually telling the truth about his older brother. You can kill him or retrieve the Blade of Baka, sort of a Wookiee hero from old, and using this, you can challenge Chundar's claim to leadership. Also, it was here I killed Kalo Nord, when Malik allowed his Sith Admiral to send him after me. So that was nice. I like his suit. Next planet for me was Manaan, a water world. No, not that one. Which is run by a water-dwelling species known as the Selkarth. The planet is the only known location for harvesting Kotor, a medicinal substance used in both the medical kits in the war between the Sith and the Republic. The planet takes a neutral stance to both sides, in order to maximise profit. Of course, if the Sith win, they'll likely conquer the planet for the resources, so secretly they've been helping the Republic make an underwater base to harvest large amounts of Kotor for their own personal use. When you learn this, you get sent to investigate as the Republic has lost contact with the base. You find the place overrun with insane Selkath, so you carve your way through and eventually find that the cause is the machines that harvest Kolto. The machine has driven a big fishy to cause the other fishies in the area to kill people. You have some options like poisoning the water on the planet to kill the big fishy, or to destroy the machine, but this is a light side / canon look at the game. So we destroy the Kolto harvesting facility and the fishy calms down. You get to the star map on the ocean floor and carry on with the quest. On Tatooine, there's a group of Tusken Raiders that are killing miners. Not miners, this isn't episode 3, actual adult miners, and the Zerka Corporation rep at the settlement of Anchorhead sends you to the desert to deal with the situation. You can do it peacefully or run them all through, but not just the men, the women and the children too. But we aren't angsty teens on this run, we're a Jedi and we do this by the book. Unfortunately, a peaceful resolution means you need to find a translator, but there is a local droid shop that might hold the answer. Wanting to join the party is a protocol / assassin droid named HK-47, who asks you to kill his current owner, but we pay for it because we are good boys. And the party is complete. You head off to the Tusken Raider camp and you can disguise yourself to sneak in. And once inside, HK-47 translates for you the whole time, asking if you can kill them. You can also find Mission's brother is being held there and help him get out of the pickle he's in, but it does lead to a Mission realizing her brother was an absolute dick. Once getting some water evaporators for the tribe and the chieftain deciding not to kill you, you can ask about the location of the star map and learn that it's being held in a Krayt Dragon's den. That's a big lizard. You work around the giant lizard with the help of a local hunter, and then you get to the star map. Now, at this point, Darth Bandon, Malik's current apprentice, rocks up, and the cheese was real because of obtaining HK-47 for dealing with Tusken Raiders and having Mission around to save her brother. I found this battle particularly hard, not relying on guides to figure out that I should have brought better party members, but I cheesed the odds and I killed the bad boy, so good for me. Now, I was off to Korriban, but suddenly the largest ship in the Sith fleet, the Leviathan, has appeared and tractor beams us aboard. Turns out Dantooine is destroyed, and the Jedi Council as well. The party is captured and made as naked as the rating board would allow. You also find out why Karth has so many trust issues, all because of the Admiral of the Sith fleet was his mentor, but helped kill his family. What a dick. Before they get captured, you decide who gets to save them, to remain 3 party members held captive on the ship. I chose mission figuring stealth would be a factor, but it turns out Sith technicians are easy to cheese. Free the party and it leads to a confrontation with Saw Karif, who whispers something to Karth that makes him angsty again. Malik appears before the group and lets you know that you are Revan. Bastila confirms, and so does Karth. What a twist. Turns out that Jedi captured you, but Malik betrayed you, opening fire on the Republic ship, almost killing you. Bastila saved you, but they couldn't save your mind, so the Jedi Council programmed you to forget that you were the OG Sith Lord. You escape, because Bastila holds Malik up, and the party learns of your past. No one objects to carrying on, which is nice. Friendship feels good now we're a good boy Jedi. Bastila will have to wait, because we're off to the Sith Academy on Korriban for the last star map. I racked up the dark side points on this one, bringing me back from good boy to just an alright boy. A few betrayals later, and I betrayed the Sith Academy leadership, having finally gotten the last star map. The Sith seem to have a really stupid political system where the strongest Sith kills the previous strongest Sith, and you get entangled in one of those between the Sith Master of the Academy and his apprentice. I feel like the Sith would be unstoppable if they could just stop killing each other. It's a real cartoon sort of evil when you're evil for the sake of evil. You revel in power and you blindly make evil choices because of this. But again, this is Star Wars, you knew what you were getting into here. With all the star maps in your possession, you're pointed to a system nearby the Starforge. A disruptor shield over the nearby planet causes you to crash land on the planet, and you have to deal with an us or them situation with the planet natives, the Rakatan. I think I chose the wrong side because there was a long ordeal trying to kill a bunch of Rakatan and a few Rancors. By this point, I'll admit, I sort of tuned out to the story on the planet, so I was encountering a lot of bugs with my saves, but we'll talk about it more when the story is done and dusted. So, you get access to the ancient temple on the planet and learn the Rakatan were the people who made the Starforge. It feeds on dark side energy and produces the robots and ships that the Rakatan used to enslave a vast portion of the galaxy, but eventually the Starforge corrupted them to a point that caused the destruction of their civilization. The Rakatan you encountered were remnants of the priest and warrior caste of the original builders of the Starforge, which is neat. This isn't Star Trek and there's no prime directive, so it's probably fine you destroyed a race of people. You find Bastila at the top of the temple near the disruptor controls. You need to switch them off to make it to the Starforge without crashing again. Before that, Bastila tries to corrupt you to rejoin the dark side. The argument wasn't convincing enough because I'm a good boy, so we had a really quick fight and then she left. Maybe I didn't try enough cringeworthy advances on her earlier? Oh well. So the Republic ships are on their way with the disruptor shield shut down. They can launch their assault. Unfortunately, with her battle meditation and her cool new black clothes, Bastila's being a real bitch. So the Jedi Master Vandar, who survived the massacre on Dantooine, sends some Jedi with you to the Starforge to deal with Bastila before the fleet falls to the Sith. Now, I've actually encountered a game-breaking bug at this point where I cannot get to the Deck 2 of the Starforge. This was pretty detrimental to this video, so I force persuaded YouTube for some clips of what happens from here on in for the purposes of finishing. Basically, what I can tell you, you fight through a bunch of bad boys until you meet up with Bastila. She's being a real bitch about things and won't stop going on about her new boyfriend. She then starts asking you to kill her, but you spam forgiveness like a Catholic priest and you tell her you love her. She calms down and gets over her whole emo stage. She starts using her battle meditation to aid the Republic fleet while you press on to deal with Malik. Malik is annoyed you got your girlfriend back, so he fights you. I assume it's a real cheese fest with plenty of reloads, but my game wouldn't let me find out. He dies wondering if he should have been a good boy Jedi, and you pity your once friend. The group bails from the Starforge because it's blowing up now. The Republic fleet bring it down and you save the galaxy from the Sith. It's a pretty big deal, so they give you a medal. Canderous is naked for some reason. What the hell, it's a party. Now the spoiler skipping people are back. Let's revel in the knowledge we know like 20 hours worth of gameplay more than them. Knowledge is power. Now using this newfound power, please hit the like button and subscribe with the bell because I'm gearing up for final thoughts. Before this, however, we have to talk about the state of the game. When I first attempted this game, I was in awe. The sound and the atmosphere and the overall story all combined to have that real Star Wars feeling. You can't escape it. You got those Jawa warbles, the Huttese language, Twi'lek dances, droids with their odd beeps and boops. The lightsaber noises and the look and the blasters, the ship sounds, the locations, it's all very Star Wars. It really captured the feel from the movies, the sense of adventure, and expanded nicely into the lore, whether or not Disney deems it canon when it comes time for them to make some money. This is probably the best look into the deeper lore that is Star Wars that you can get outside of the movies, even if Mickey waves his wand Fantasia style and wipes it from existence. Jeremy Soule was the composer for the music soundtrack, and he does well to pay homage to John Williams' original score. Jeremy went on to do soundtracks for Oblivion and Skyrim and a barrage of other games, so you know the guy knows his stuff. But in a franchise like Star Wars that has already got a lot of music memorably attached to it, it's important to get the feeling right, and therein lies his genius here. The game has an awful lot going for it, and because of its ability to capture your imagination, and for it being what led into bigger stepping stones in gaming history, it definitely reserves a place as one of the greatest games of all time. In other words, it's on the list. However, its entry must come with a warning. The game's a fucking buggy mess. I can forgive the pathing issues, the clunky combat, the unforgiving autosave system. Please save often. However, like I explained to people that didn't skip the spoilers section, I ran into a bug at the end game where I could no longer proceed with the campaign, and I was right before the end. This is the Xbox One X version here. No matter how many times I cycled to power, tried to reload my save, the next area simply wouldn't load, so it was pretty disappointing after 25-ish hours of gameplay. I'm going to persist to try to get to the end of my own file, but I don't hold much hope for it. I'd have played it on Steam where I also own the game, but the widescreen fixed version kept crashing for me, and playing it windowed in 4:3 ratio, I kept getting stuck on the floor after fights. That was a couple of years ago, maybe I could fix it up now. But as I mentioned, I was playing this on the Xbox One X version. Maybe GOG has a better version, but I won't be looking into it for a while. I would really like to say that I've finished this game, but unless I get a guarantee I can complete the game, I'm probably never going to finish it, and it's a real shame because I want to be able to recommend it easily, but it's sort of something you got to roll the dice on with problems like this. I advise caution if you try this out, and again, save and make multiple saves. I've had issues with both versions loading saves, and I lost a few hours a couple of times. I tweeted Xbox support, but who knows if that's going to help at all. Overall, some games in the timeline of gaming really stand out, and this one, using its base of being in this franchise, becomes another part of gaming history. Whether or not you don't like the game or the execution or Star Wars for some fucking reason, I don't think you can argue that it isn't important. Without its success, we may never have had games like Mass Effect and Dragon Age, though I'd argue they were far improved versions of this prototype build. Stories and the mechanics from those games come directly from this one. I mean, the looming Reaper threat and the looming Darkspawn Horde fill the role of the looming Sith. Of course, I'd argue the latter games manage to present something that manages to feel far more threatening to the player character in both of those worlds. The 3-party system, romance options with your party, extrapolating dialogue with party members, pausing combat to activate abilities and switching between your party members before releasing their effects. It's obviously where BioWare managed to refine these systems in a 3D world that they used in their most popular games. BioWare, of course, eventually fell to its own hubris and the games went downhill. I wouldn't argue like most that Mass Effect Andromeda was the first failure, as the systems they introduced in each installment of its franchises gradually got reduced or redundant as these franchises went on, but that's more of a topic for a video of its own. There's a reason KOTOR always graces top 100 game lists, and it's because 1, it's Star Wars, and 2, it's not shit. Well, that was Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and it was what it was. I'm Dwight from Hindsight, a recently made channel. I'm hoping to slowly grow into something larger over time. Did you like the longer retrospective format over shorter review style videos? Do you want to see more like this? Or do you prefer the more succinct style? Sort of 10, 15 minutes just giving you what the game's about and then that's it and I move on. What games would you like to hear me rant on about? Or should I play some newer titles instead of all these old ones? Let me know in the comments, and until then, be a mad dog, share this video with your friends, and have a bloody good one.